Alright, so basically our idea here is something that, if was done, probably have to be a world leader or something. Or, well, maybe this is just another one of those gay ideas that will never do anything and will never help anyone, just like all of you. But that's only because I throw doubt at people first, you know, because that's what our second option would be. So, anyway, the idea here is basically that to stop world crime, or should we say grime, or should we say, are you paying attention? So you have to use smelling, and you have to smell every bit of everything, and you can't just hide 6.8% of it. Um, anyway, the word grime and crime is symbolical, and it does sound about the same. And scum is another thing that people get rid of. And I've watched feet for a long time, and I believe that if we created a food, like, when you grow mushrooms, if we could just grow the bacteria on our feet like mushrooms, or maybe even if it was separate from our feet, maybe it would still smell like that. But I think that if it did, that it would be delicious. And it would solve world crime because it's right here. This is why. And if you just put all this together, make it all relate, then you would agree. People that have stinky feet, you have to tell them to wash them or do something with them. And the only time you can't is if it's um, um. So, going on my little slow rampage here. Um, Basically, some of the things here that it would do if we did make a real cheese that was based on bacteria from a human, kind of recultivated, and basically taking the methanethiol, acetic acid, propionic acid, butyric acid, and isovaleric acid, as well as the Brevibacteria, Staphylococcus epidermi, Micrococcaceae, Corynebacterium, and Pityrosporum, um, are just some of the bacterias that create that. And it may make, Limburger cheese, but that's still using cheese, and that's why it smells like shit. And I think that my feet smell better than any cheese. And if it could be cultivated, I would like to eat it. Because I have been and seen every foot, and I know what it's like, when someone does not touch it and would rather die than touch it. Obviously, that's useless. And if you avert from it that hard, then you'll have such a whiplash from seeing a foot that it will be too strong for you and will be very pleasurable, but it's not supposed to be that way. Something that is not acceptable isn't, and it's global. And just because it's a little social, mechanism, to avoid it is disgusting. And we're going to go into that as well. And just to shit on your day, we also have the fact there's a lot of things like things that are shitty. We'll have to go over that too. But anyway, the word odor. One thing really bothered me is just that I had this, I don't know, person that I knew that had periods and likes the word odor. And a girl's feet had odor. And it was supposed to be attractive to a man. But a man's foot is supposed to, ew, stink. And this is the face that you have when it's right in your face and you want it, to examine, and then you're pressured and forced, to, not listen to a bunch of shit. So the word odor and odor is what I'm speaking of here, because if you speak and say odor, it actually skips the word and it makes it a really slow fart. and it smells bad, and it's like a burnt candle. You can smell it and combine it with this mustache, and you can see how unattractive it would be. And it would just be like, choosing instead of this idea with that, with the cheese. Instead, just cultivate what? Something else on the body. So, we have odor and odor, which equals a hurt, twisted toe in the word odor. We also have the word adore, which is to adore someone. I think that it means odor, possibly, which is unattractive, possibly. Isn't it, person, possibly? And a rich, dead-end, nose stuck-up trapped gesture, like, You never want to see it ever again, and you're trapped in a little social area where your body goes, and stays away from it. And that's just one thing. If you were in a room by yourself, you're the only one who did it, and there's coffee and a little lingering smell. I just think that it would be messed up if someone farts in a room and it has an odor. How could it be attractive to, I'd probably say like gay people. The word odor sounds disgusting. And there's no reason to put more layers over it, to mask that smell. And when someone really stinks and they start sweating and getting nervous, odor is where that compliment comes from. But odor is not. Not originally, because it has to have a way to kind of go like that. So, this also goes down to weighing how much something is and what causes someone to stumble and fall. Most people look at women's feet because they can paint their toenails, and men can't if they have facial hair, because people get bald right here and it looks like a heel sticking up, which it is, facing out like this. And you notice it because people turn like this. And also, because of this, people cannot fully view things or survey them, because they're meant to kind of have their face pressed like this and have to be going towards an angle, kind of backwards, like just staying away from something but going towards it. And I can't really explain that very much more, but when you're in a public place, you must face forwards, and you cannot really fully survey around, and there are blind spots, which are bald spots like your head. So why not have hair on it? Probably because there is no flavor. There may be flavor in sugar mint gum, but it's odor that you're afraid of. You're afraid of cultivating something that is human. And how would you do it? Probably by replicating the cells or finding out what it is eating and then multiply that and make it grow. Or just find some kind of food medium that would basically just explore it. And there's just a billion possibilities, but if you accepted it, there would probably be, no more things like this. And just those ugly expressions, like you ever seen a person that looks like this is all zany? Like they just love their little Shih Tzu so much, or gopher looking people, or like Buster from Mythbusters got this huge freaking beard. His face looks like it smells like vinegar. I mean, I can smell it watching the video. It's just completely disgusting. And then we have Santas, people with beards with crumbs on the beards, and it stinks. And that guy's just a perverted pile of white, shit coming out of a head, and just bushy, nasty shit and nasty feet. You can't even suck the feet because they got freaking hairs this long coming out looking fucking gross. And then they have taxes and gross. So you're like, oh, well, there's like, no area here, and like, let's get alcohol and maybe we'll try something foolish. And it's just, I mean, it's just stupid. But all these things would be gone in people, that is like unattractive shit. Elves, nymphs, and goblins. Elves are people who are not real people and are actually fictional and really are just some perverted old person, coming up with a fake tale, which is called a fairy tale because it's gay. And it basically has to do with the aversion of that cheese there. And most elves are probably just people who would shoot you with a pistol and not give a shit, just because, it's disgusting. I mean, I mathematically checked it out and I could sit there and, rub up in my nose up in here and use it's like the little shaving thing, and it's got the little round little things, and you go up in there and clear out your nose. And it just seems that if there was just a huge pile, up in my nose, I think that something just fell out, just one little particle just disappears, then that would be the elf is just a huge pile, like, it's just like having a magnet with just metal all over it, and it's just too many metal shards, and then that one little shard won't connect, and it's like, that's what an elf is. There's just one extra metal shard that won't fit something that's piled up so high that there shouldn't be anything there, because we haven't even been able to be a full person because people can't even get over the fact that they can't kill each other. And that killing is social. Also, food is social, and I believe that maybe that may be the key to probably true existence would be the fact that food is social. That would mean that sex is food. It would mean that things are food. It means that speech is food. And, well, anyway, food sounds like foot to me, and every time someone steps, and I know someone who waits before they step, it kind of looks like they step back when they step forwards. Really does make the word foot be food and food be foot. And, just things like Jesus, another one. Yeah, that person named Yeah. And goblins and nymphs. Nymphs are basically, in math, it's like someone goes like, and then your nose has to have on this side, some snot running down it, and it gets dry right here. Then a little piece right here goes up when you go, and it looks like a small rectangle would go upwards when sniffed, and it leaves a little area here. That little strip. Like that. And that gesture and that little piece that could flick off or not would be a nymph. And it's kind of like I forgot what it's called. So things that nymph or something like that. But it grows on a plant or something. We have goblins, which is actually toes going like this. And all of those things would be gone. And anything that would be not represented, such as Jesus, because you can't smell his feet, and you'd never be able to eat his cheese. And I think that it should be something that should be made. And I mean, people have even touched this topic. The word gourmet still exists. It has nothing to do with good cooking. It's an insult. It's really like looking at a dead eyeball would probably be what gourmet would be. It's fucking disgusting. Anyway, so mathematically, the only aversion to this food belongs in prison, and it's kind of fucked up. 93% of people who are incarcerated are male. 6.8% are female. And I promise you that every person incarcerated, the cause was aversion to foot taste. Because there's a little area, where, you kind of want to be warm and kind of comfortable when it's a little bit colder, or you'd want to be more temperate when it's a little bit warmer. And that little area is where you're supposed to be, is temperate. And see, if you don't, and you'd rather be really hot and uncomfortable, or really cold and uncomfortable, it's not something preferable. But when you see someone else in that position, you look at their feet, they'll be sticking out, maybe like not chewed ever, and never like clean like this. And people get twice as hot, but be half of that to explain it, which is breaking down a fourth into a pie chart. Because of the aversion of it, which would cause embarrassment, which would actually be just experiencing it. Which means there's a lot that has to be done about how that would work. But anyway, 99% of women have periods. Also, sports are just for women. It has nothing to do with men because of manliness and braveness, which doesn't exist. Because romance is like sounds like Travidance, and that means that romance is actually fighting and battle. How would you like to forever have that? So basically, foot care products are deadly if you don't take care of it. If you can't do this and can't eat this, you will die. There is no other way to explain it, because you'll get sick rather than eat it. So if you get sick rather than eat it and die rather than eat it, then you're left with sickness and like really clubbity boogers. And there's people that get laid and they're like, oh, I'll just sit back and relax and stretch my legs, and it gets really uncomfortable, and it reminds me of broccoli. And it's because it's just not proper, and it reminds me of people who are very sick, and you go into old people's homes because of their feet aversion. It's the only reason there's nursing homes. It's the only reason there's nursing homes because titties are still not allowed to be seen, and it's just messed up how, a woman can be out there, but a man can't, in a bikini or a swimsuit. What are we doing wrong? Obviously the fact that men have to wear armor and women have to be exposed, right? So us in armor looks better, and us not in armor. Maybe just the guard parts, like the vulnerabilities, would probably be what we would have to show, I think. Well, anyway, so, right. So maybe men should just have it where their parts are exposed. That would probably even out that if we were all straight. But, this food would probably do that itself. The thing is that if you choose the smells of talcum powder, which actually, and you choose science, just, I guess using my math, like, I can't explain it, but it's like biting a small little round metal plate, like of Saturn, if it was like a long, really intrudable record, and you just bite it, it would be so uncomfortable for some reason because of the word science. I don't know, that's just what bothers me. It feels like just someone scraping a plate against me. I know it means something. It means exactly what I just said. That's what bothers me. So we have man cheese and woman cheese. If I was sitting here with something that weighs 10 pounds and something that weighs 10 pounds, woman cheese would weigh the same, but man cheese would be overlooked and would weigh half as much, but the same. I just think that using this picture, I can describe it, is that this part of the shady area is looked at, but this part of the man cheese is not. It's like we are already naked when we're not naked. So our private parts are exposed. It's like our hands right here should have gloves on them, to not touch women. And it should be, I think this should be exposed just to see what it means. And just the parts that we can see, like this should be our head completely closed off. You know what I'm saying? I think our, anything that we close off, it needs to be the opposite. Like real talk, because it's so fucked up. That's why 93% of people incarcerated male, 6% of female, and that's because 99% of women have periods. And see, if they all have periods, then, like I said, with things like this, that is backwards, and fucked up, is actually some form of fetish. Can't be overlooked. I mean, I've liked every single possible fetish for a woman. And man, and I know. I've seen it. I've seen it through other people. It's third person. Look at proxies. Look at the internet. Are you fucking stupid? You don't think people have proxies? You fucking idiot. You don't think we have botnets? You don't think we have, people have the same thing? You don't think that people are groups of people? Or maybe a group of usernames? You don't think that they stick together forever? I do. It'd be tough to find them, but I mean, once you do, I mean, I'm sure it will be fucking useful. But this is why, because everyone has one thing in common, and it's just looking at a Grand Canyon. If it was your hand, and there was constant wind and water going against it, and if you could just keep something, and then you could leave with it, it would be different than being erased and then washed with talcum powder, which is the fucking nastiest smelling thing I've ever seen on a foot. And the reason that talcum powder even goes on a foot and then has a white sock that it goes on is only because women have periods. And it's stinky, and it's just like the period commercial. They need to find something else to do with it. I see that they should probably make food out of it. They should also culture this, because this is really good. Earwax is disgusting. Must mean I really like it. I'm learning because part of me must love it, because, if you ew something, then you really want it near you next time, So if you like something, then you would have to really hate it too, right? I don't know. But anyway, so let me just kind of read whatever I said. Food care products are deadly. Aversion to your feet. If you'd rather die than taste, suck, and not use talcum powder and not enhance it, is the wrong direction we've gone. And talcum powder and all that stuff, it is just disgusting to watch it. It doesn't have anything I've ever grown up being. I've always taken care of my feet. I've always, made sure that my bare feet exposed are always perfectly done. I've always licked them. I've always kissed them. I've always sucked them. I've always taken care of them. And there's times when, I wouldn't wash them for one day, but I would make sure that I have the right smells. And I'd never say emitting smells because it's offensive to me. Offensive. And, so Limburger cheese and talcum powder is how far we've gone. Because you have yes and no and a simultaneous, and maybe, what's in between that finger? Do you want to keep it? Someone standing up. How embarrassing does it get to play with your fingers? I'm just tired of looking at Band-Aid commercials. And the only reason someone will get hurt to put on one of those big Band-Aids that looks like Dora the Explorer and stinks a little bit is just so someone can masturbate. Look at a product. And the way things are advertised, everything looks like products. That's just from women masturbating. Can't even damn talk about it because it stinks so bad. Or smells so good. Okay, and so yeah, I mean, I've studied it. When you're in a prison or something, or jail, your feet have these little slippers on, and it's fucking stinky. It still is like orange Buddhist monk. Buddhist monasteries are completely insane. They need to have a complete opposite of what that shit is meaning. Because it's telling you to kill yourself, and it's just a body disposal unit. It just says die. I mean, what the fuck else is it? You know, enter the stream. It says don't in. There is no stream to enter. It doesn't have. It's the opposite. They just like take the ideas it was advertised as and use what they really wanted to mean. You know. So, tampons and passive musky alcoholic vinegar stink, which protrudes from a beard being attractive, is only secret addiction and is socially improper. No one can like it. Sexualizing form into male and female when ingredients are needed to finish a person. I'm just saying that most people are about 30% completed. You know, because we have 2 and 1/3. If there were 2 people talking, and there would be a third there. That third would have been that cheese when we counted to 1. But since a person cannot fully analyze every single foot perfectly, you know, by knowing the causes of where, you know, the disabilities come from when someone has a big nasty foot, you don't say, oh, that's a really nice, you know, size 20 shoe, sir. Your foot looks like it's completely warped and deformed because in your past you have not taken care of your foot and now it looks even worse. This looks like you could go right to a coffin, you know, with one of those big feet. John, whatever, the guy that was, you know, a Guinness Book of World Record person. And, you know, having big, ugly, skeletal things. And I mean it. I mean, it's just like when I had a girlfriend who stubbed her toe and it had fungus growing and it stinks and it's ingrown and disgusting. She wanted it that way. That's not right. It's not socially acceptable. And it hurt me inside. I can't find one person who cares about their feet without it being a fetish or with it being a fetish and even exist. You know, fetish sounds like feta cheese. Why don't they just cultivate this shit and get past the fact that Japan is really, really inferior with the small amount of product they have when it comes to being a step ahead of censorship? And that people cannot fully view something, and they say that something ugly and big and disgusting and unhealthy, of course, looks good. Oh, not embarrassing. That is unhealthy, you know, and you have to say that looks bad, and you have to be honest because it has to grow. You know what I'm saying? It has to know. You can't tell me, you know, oh, he's got a big pride problem. He's got a huge tumor on the back of his head. But just wait, you know, that sucker will light right up. You know, just stupid sounding shit like that. You know, something that disgusting is constantly focused on. You know, anything gross that you don't pay attention to, that is disgusting. So you might as well just shoot yourself in the head. I mean, you know, maybe we're just so incomplete that, well, maybe death would be the only option. If it weren't for me, this would have been my idea. So, you know, stop world crime and stop world grime, or begin it, because crime, period, 93% male. I mean, come on, look at feet. Girl with pretty toes. Man can't paint his toes. My idea was to take little metal plates and put them on my feet, like grills. You know, but people just don't understand it. They don't get it. You know, they don't understand. And every time I say something good like this, it's never good enough. People never believe me. They think I'm fucking crazy. Because I have like 100,000 of these fucking ideas. You know? And would rather see me dead than like my idea. So they could, you know, see how their eyeball body works. You know, when eyeballs are also titties. Because if you go like this, I mean, it's just like picking up, you know, mathematically, you know, this is round. You know, when you see titties, up, down, look up, look down, look up. look down, you know, and then it has mouth down here, and mouth down there, and mouth down there. It's math. Why isn't it used? Can't you understand what feet really are? You know, for one, it's the perfect measurement because on the bottom it has a perfect stretch. You know, and it has a perfect curve. If that was used, you know, and the math of the foot, it would have such more better structures, buildings. You know, why couldn't they just be built on some kind of mathematical formula of the bottom of a foot? You know, that it has in common better than the golden rule. But no, that's insane. Give him Seroquel now. You know, hold him down because someone didn't have a baby and didn't know how to have sex. Plus someone was in debt, you know, and probably owed about $40,000, but he doesn't make that much money. So, that's what runs through my head every day. Just that my head, you know, if I want to be like someone who would rather be in 110-degree weather but smell even worse smelling feet. Probably just like blisters and sound like some old perverted, you know, cuckold of a Jesus and parents and all that shit. It stinks and people don't pay attention to it. You know, everyone's like idiocracy. And anyone I disagree with, just basically everyone until I realize maybe I can agree with myself and maybe other people can agree with me. But I have to be there first. I feel like I'm only 1/3 of a person, incomplete, you know, and that's just one byproduct, you know, but that's the only one that really needs to be focused on. You know, and the golden rule sucks. Why couldn't they just build bridges and, you know, walkways and stuff based on the bottom of the foot? Because the buildings have to be dead people? I mean, look at the fucking columns in Latin, because it's only based on buildings, and every single word in it is like post-mortem. And that's just when someone's dead. You know, in the buildings, the columns, and the way it's built, looks like someone's dead. It's like their fucking legs and feet. When they have those marble columns and, you know, huge white columns, the most popular thing, that's someone dead. Because if you look at a dead person's feet, it sticks out and it's all fucked up looking. And that looks good to you. Haha. Well, I guess little chunky eyeballs ready to fucking maybe squeeze a couple of marbles. Let's see if people can understand other languages. Can't even damn variate from a fucking word. It's like you can say, you know, you can say country kitchen, and you can say CUNTRY kitchen, but you can't variate from it now. You can't create new languages. You can't say buntry as a regular word without being funny, fungusy. And then you have to smell that mushroom or a toothpick. Which stem that was dry would you rather deal with without smelling the ingredients, you know? Or at least in between your teeth has some of those bacterias in it. You couldn't even taste that. You can't even look at the rest of it. And when it gets to that point to where someone doesn't do something with it, it's like having nasty shit in between it, you know? And I can't really compare it to anything else besides just eating Elmer's glue, you know, and, you know, maybe liking the smell of probably epoxy and eating it, you know, which is just disgusting, you know, so, I don't know, if you like a finger that just likes to touch epoxy, you know, and it just smells like epoxy. You know, it's disgusting. But I think that even smallpox would be a little bit better than anything I've ever said. So I hope you enjoy my failure idea, like every idea I have. Because no one believes in me. You know, because I had an idea. And I just keep on going. But I think a lot. And I have nothing else to do. besides care about a worldly cause rather than die? Huh. Well, I hope you enjoyed my idea, because one day I'll probably never do this shit. Bicycles. Oh yeah, and another thing, feta cheese and the word fetish, and it comes from Latin. So you could just imagine the fact that a fetish really has to do with being dead and trying dead particles, because when you look at a foot like this, it has a life element of a spring back. So if someone dies, that is gone, but the mobile part's still there in another body, because there's so many people, they have to be grouped up. Plus, I'd want to live for a long time, probably forever, but I have to be socially capable first. And one way is definitely not to like having graveyard iron feet. And I don't like my feet looking like gravestones or flintstones. And that's why I want to live, and that's why I evolve, and why I will have what I seek, in the future, the offspring. So, I can't even make offspring a word when there's offspring, because that's what it would smell like. It was the culture of that food. Well, anyway, I hope you're a really subliminal and overanalyzing person. That would really help you at this point, because it was a really good idea. And, it would be amazing to have tofu that tastes like it. But maybe it would be a medium to taste it. Maybe we need to study what the cells are made of, the skin cells, and figure out how we can make something that is exactly the same. That would make something that would be sweet, wonderful, and the things that I meditate on every day that make me smell different flavors at different times, with different emphasis. Probably as many different flavors as I can think of. And I don't know. But I just don't think that there's one flavor which is commercial. Boogers and those little nasty little booger commercials and those little fungies. And it's just some girl going, come on, just a little bit more shower. Come on. Try, toothpick shower. All right, I'm finished. I'm just done. I'm beating a dead horse, but shit. How is it not a good idea? Don't you want to ruin my ideas? It's useless, I had a great idea. It's not like anyone will ever care. It's not like, I don't even think, that in 1,000 years it'll be done. And if I had the idea, maybe it would then, but probably not. I think I'd just disappear, because I'd be the last person to ever look at feet. I'd be the last person to ever want to cultivate it or make it social to do something as such. Instead of not. And the only reason you don't pick your nose in school is because penises go in there. Metaphorical ones. But you can't even chew this. Without feeling like someone who's a fib. Or a liar. Or someone who wants to make one of those big spoons so they can make someone eat it. And it's just a complete insult. It's like a bunch of salt. Alright, goodbye.